The year was 63 BCE, and the Roman Forum buzzed with tension as thick as the smoke rising from countless altars. Citizens gathered in hushed clusters, their eyes fixed on the sacred chickens, pecking at grain scattered across the marble steps of the Temple of Jupiter. What they witnessed was not divine intervention. It was theater. The most sophisticated religious manipulation in ancient history, orchestrated by men who understood that controlling the gods meant controlling the people. The morning sun cast long shadows across the Campus Martius as Lucius Cornelius Sulla prepared for what would become one of history's most consequential acts of religious fraud. As dictator of Rome, he possessed absolute power, yet even he needed divine approval for his most audacious plans. The problem was simple: the gods weren't cooperating. Roman augurs had developed an intricate system for reading divine will through bird behavior, particularly the sacred chickens kept specifically for augural purposes. These domesticated birds were released into the templum, where their feeding behavior could be studied by the augur to determine the god's approval or disapproval. But what the Roman people didn't know was that this sacred ritual had become a carefully choreographed performance. The effectiveness of augury could only be judged retrospectively. The divinely ordained condition of peace, pax deorum, was an outcome of successful augury. This created the perfect conditions for manipulation. If a military campaign succeeded, it proved the omens had been correctly interpreted. If it failed, someone else must have possessed the true right of augury. The augurs had discovered something remarkable. Hungry chickens ate eagerly, and well-fed chickens refused food. By controlling when the sacred birds were fed, they could manufacture any omen required by Rome's political elite. Sometimes, politically motivated augurs would fabricate unfavorable auspices in order to delay certain state functions, such as elections. The sacred chickens became unwitting accomplices in the grandest deception of the ancient world. Marcus Crassus, one of Rome's wealthiest men, had learned this secret well. Before his disastrous campaign against Parthia, he ensured the augurs received their payments in gold. The sacred chickens, conveniently starved for 12 hours, devoured their grain with divine enthusiasm. The omens proclaimed certain victory. History would remember Crassus's defeat at Carrhae, but few questioned how the gods could have been so thoroughly wrong. The Senate would ask the College of Augurs to review events and determine if the auguries were properly performed. If not, the action was deemed invalid ab initio. This technical complexity created endless opportunities for retroactive manipulation. Unfavorable laws could be nullified, unwanted magistrates could be removed, and military disasters could be blamed on ritual errors rather than tactical incompetence. Don't forget to like this video if you're learning something new about ancient Rome's hidden manipulations, and subscribe for more shocking historical revelations. Deep within the sacred precinct of the Temple of Jupiter, Optimus Maximus, a ritual was unfolding that would determine whether Rome went to war or remained at peace. The haruspex, trained in the ancient Etruscan art of reading entrails, carefully examined the liver of a freshly sacrificed sheep. The liver appeared perfect, smooth, unblemished, with all the traditional markers of divine approval. There was just one problem. This was the sixth sheep that morning. Roman haruspicy was a form of communication with the gods, allowing humans to discern the attitudes of the gods and react in a way that would maintain harmony between the human and divine worlds, pax deorum. But behind this sacred practice lay a sophisticated understanding of anatomy, probability, and human psychology that would make modern manipulators envious. The haruspices had discovered what modern veterinarians understand. Animal health varies dramatically based on diet, age, and breeding conditions. The entrails, most importantly the liver, but also the lungs and heart, contained a large number of signs that indicated the god's approval or disapproval. By controlling which animals were selected for sacrifice, the priests could influence the outcome of their divination. Young, healthy animals from prime breeding stock inevitably produced favorable omens, clear livers, strong hearts, unblemished lungs. Older animals, or those deliberately weakened through restricted feeding, showed the irregularities that indicated divine displeasure. The priests maintained separate herds, carefully categorized by the types of omens they would produce. The entrails were thought to reveal the will of the gods, providing insights into future events. Animal sacrifice was performed with great care, often accompanied by prayers and offerings to the gods. This ritual precision masked a calculating efficiency. Teams of assistants prepared animals according to the desired outcome, while the haruspeks performed his sacred theatre with the gravitas befitting a messenger of the gods. The most skilled haruspices developed techniques that would impress modern stage magicians. Hidden compartments within sacrificial altars allowed for the substitution of organs. Specially prepared sheep hearts, preserved in wine and marked with auspicious signs, could be seamlessly introduced during the ritual examination. The inspection of entrails involved the haruspeks closely examining the liver, lungs, and other organs, noting their size, color, and any irregularities. These irregularities could be manufactured as easily as they could be discovered. The political implications were staggering. Haruspices also played a role in legal matters, providing divine insight into disputes and decisions. Their interpretations of omens could influence court rulings and the outcomes of trials. Justice in Rome was not blind. It was choreographed by priests who understood that divine authority was the ultimate trump card in any legal or political dispute. When Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, launching the civil war that would end the Roman Republic, he did so with the blessing of favorable omens. The haruspices had examined the entrails and found them perfect. What history doesn't record is how many sheep died that morning before one was found with a liver that matched Caesar's ambitions. Comment below, which shocks you more, the fake omens or the fact that they actually worked? And make sure you're subscribed because Chapter 3 reveals the ultimate Roman religious conspiracy. The year was 44 BCE, and Rome trembled, not from the wrath of Jupiter, but from a mechanical device hidden beneath the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus. As senators debated Caesar's growing power, perfectly timed thunder crashed from clear skies, silencing opposition and providing divine commentary on the proceedings. The crowd gasped in awe, believing they witnessed the King of Gods himself weighing in on mortal affairs. They were witnessing something far more remarkable, the world's first political sound system. The political, cultural, and religious aspects of Roman life were deeply intertwined, with divine authority supporting the empire's highest offices, internal organization, and external relations. This integration created opportunities for manipulation that the Romans exploited with engineering brilliance that wouldn't be matched until the industrial age. The thunder machine was a masterpiece of hidden technology. Bronze tubes, extending deep into the earth beneath the temple, amplified and directed sound with acoustic precision. Teams of slaves, working in underground chambers, operated massive drums made from specially treated bull hides. The timing was controlled by a sophisticated system of mirrors and signal flags, allowing priests to coordinate divine interventions with political speeches or legal proceedings. Thunder and lightning were among the signs that augurs interpreted as messages from the gods, but the Romans had learned to manufacture these signs with mechanical precision. Lightning was simulated using polished bronze mirrors that could redirect sunlight in brilliant flashes, while the underground percussion system created thunder that seemed to emanate from the heavens themselves. The conspiracy extended beyond sound effects. Religion was central to being Roman, its practices widespread and intertwined with politics. The priests understood that controlling religious experience meant controlling political reality. They developed an entire arsenal of manufactured miracles, statues that wept through hidden water systems, eternal flames that burned without visible fuel sources, and oracular voices that spoke from sealed chambers. The most audacious deception involved the Sibylline books, Rome's most sacred prophetic texts. Augustus took priestly control over the state oracles, including the Sibylline books, and used his power as a censor to suppress certain interpretations while promoting others. What few knew was that the books themselves were regularly updated to reflect current political necessities. Teams of skilled scribes working in the deepest vaults of the temple maintained multiple versions of prophetic verses. As political situations evolved, new ancient prophecies were discovered, written in archaic Latin and artificially aged through treatment with smoke, wine, and carefully applied wear patterns. The priests could produce a divine prophecy supporting virtually any policy position, complete with unassailable ancient authority. Augustus is probably the supreme master of the art of propaganda in the entire history of the West. No one has rivaled him, and everyone has since been in his shadow. His religious manipulations were so sophisticated that they created the template for political propaganda that would endure for millennia. By manufacturing divine approval, Augustus transformed personal ambition into sacred duty and political power into religious obligation. The system's genius lay in its self-reinforcing nature. Each manufactured miracle strengthened public faith in divine intervention, which increased the political value of future miracles, which justified more elaborate deceptions. The Romans had created the world's first mass media manipulation campaign, using religious authority as their transmission medium and divine fear as their amplification system. When Nero's Golden House burned in the Great Fire of Rome, he blamed Christians for the disaster. But the real conspiracy was far more sophisticated. Nero provided his gardens for the spectacle and exhibited displays in the circus at which he mingled with the crowd or stood in a chariot dressed as a charioteer. The emperor had learned that spectacular destruction, blamed on religious enemies, could generate public support for any policy while deflecting attention from governmental failures. The Roman religious manipulation system was so effective that it survived the empire's collapse and influenced virtually every subsequent civilization. The techniques pioneered by Roman priests, manufactured miracles, controlled access to divine authority, and the strategic deployment of religious fear became the blueprint for political control that echoes through history to our modern era. The sacred chickens, the liver lies, and the thunder machine represent more than ancient superstition. They reveal the eternal truth about power. Those who control the narrative of divine will can control the destiny of nations. Rome didn't conquer the world through military might alone. They conquered it by convincing their enemies that the gods themselves had chosen Rome to rule. This has been your deep dive into Rome's most sophisticated conspiracy. Like if this changed how you think about ancient history, subscribe for more hidden truths about the classical world, and comment with your biggest takeaway from Rome's sacred deceptions. History isn't always what it seems, and sometimes the most powerful truths are the ones hiding in plain sight.